Hi, I'm Bev Linder, enjoying my deck this morning at 18 degrees. And as you see, it's winter here in Colorado. And in this video series, you'll see that we taped in all the different seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. And the reason for that is we wanted to take our time and really bring together these parents who have kids with special needs. And I think you'll enjoy meeting these real people with real lives. And some of the topics that we'll cover will be seeing the big picture and bringing out the potential in your child and really enjoying your child and even discipling your special needs child. You know, when I was a new mom, someone said to me, "This is not the end of the world," for I had just had my first child with a disability. We had actually 2 children who were born with disabilities. And they said, "This isn't the end of the world." And I thought, is that true? And now here 20 years later, I can really say, well, yes and no. It really was the end of a certain kind of a world, because it was the end of a normal world. When we were maybe in extended times in the hospital, other people were at soccer games. And when we were driving to our therapy sessions, other people maybe were driving to their ballet lessons. And it seemed like other people did really typical things in typical ways. And our lives were so different. And so in that way, it was the end of a certain kind of world. But it was the beginning of another world, a world we would have never chosen. But we came to see this world as wonderful. And Mike and I came to see raising these special needs children as a privilege, because we saw that there was a person in there. And that's the subject of this whole video series. There's a person in there. Let's start by just introducing you to our kids. Christy Ann Linder was born exactly 5 years after my husband and I were married. When the doctor came in to tell me about her condition, before I ever saw her, I expected to see some sort of monster by the way he described her. But she was beautiful. In spite of her extreme low muscle tone and her other many problems, my husband said she looked like Cindy Lou Who from the story of the Grinch, and I agreed. Christy needed constant attention and therapy, but she stole the hearts of everyone she came in contact with, including her grandparents. Our daughter loved life and was a blast to experience new adventures with, like Disneyland. But Christy was vulnerable, very weak. Shortly after her 3rd birthday, God took her home to heaven. What a treasure we had for 3 years. And in spite of all her problems, it was so evident that there was a person in there, and that our loss was heaven's gain. When Christy was 2 years old, her brother Ricky was born. I have to tell you, when I was pregnant with Ricky, I often said, "I feel like there's a bucking bronco in my stomach." And when Ricky was born, I found out why. He was a constant charge of never-ending energy. There was mischief from sun up to sundown. Ricky was a blast of sunshine, and we loved that. But sometimes we were too tired to appreciate this ray of sunshine. I suppose that if we had had Ricky diagnosed, he would have been thought of as ADHD. But guess what? Little hyperactive boys grow up, and once they slow down enough for us to catch a glimpse of them, we find ourselves thinking, wow, there was a person in there all along. When Bradley was born, he was swept away from my arms to a different hospital because there was a big problem. Brad began getting therapy right away. His dad and I were old pros at this. After all, we had done it all once before with Christy. Like Christy and Ricky, little Brad won our hearts. He won his brother's heart and all his family and friends. We all saw a spirit of patience and gentle strength in this little boy. This little boy who had to struggle so hard just to stay alive. Brad had 20 surgeries in his life, and no one can ever remember him uttering a word of complaint. Many of his surgeries were long distance in San Diego, so we tried to make the best of a hard situation. You can imagine with his severe limitations, schooling was hard, but he pushed through the difficulties and ended up in college. That semester in college was his last adventure before God took him home at age 18. This was Brad's birth announcement. It's a fact. Our kids, yours and ours, every single one of them, are fearfully and wonderfully made.